Good evening, ladies and gents. Welcome back to Hot Route with me, Bo McBrayer. Sometimes, actually quite often referred to as the King of Spice. Hot Route is a dynasty fantasy football show meant to break down the incoming rookie class to help y'all scoop up the right guys in your rookie drafts. We do the show every other week on Going for Two Live. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and share our YouTube page. Check it out. Hit that like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. You know, I find it quite fitting that we just got done watching this wide receiver class yesterday at the NFL Scouting Combine. This show is about wide receivers. Episode 3, I. Wide receivers 2022. It is a deep class. We've seen now 3 classes in a row, really deep, talented classes with a lot of diversity. I love this class. It's exciting. And man, is it fast. We just saw this class blaze up the 40-yard dash, break the record for most times under 4.4 in the history of the combine from the wide receiver position. They put on a show. I mean, we already knew that about most of these guys, but man, what a spectacle last night in prime time on NFL Network. So there's quite a few receivers in this class that will warrant a pick in a 4-round rookie draft, assuming it's a 12-team league. So you got 48 picks, you got 4 positions. Typically, wide receivers are going to be the most heavily accessed position group. It's very nice, very deep class. There's a lot of talent here that I want to at least put in my pool for a 4-round rookie draft in dynasty fantasy football leagues. So I'll really try to keep things quick to the point because we had a lot of guys to cover here. If someone isn't mentioned here, it just means that they're not on my radar to use for a rookie draft pick at this point. Landing spot will add some things. The combine didn't really do much more than confirm certain things that I saw on tape from their college careers. And it's just going to come down to making sure that I have my tiers set up for these wide receivers, because there's a lot of good ones with a lot of great traits and some decent weaknesses that we want to see them develop on. I will present a prospect and give him a spice score from 1 to 5 peppers. So I got my peppers here, really nice Microsoft Paint, 1 pepper to all the way to, where's my 5 pepper? Man, I am out of sorts here. There we go. 5 peppers. That's a spice score. It's just kind of going to reflect how I feel they're going to be as a professional prospect. Doesn't mean that I hate them if they're 2 peppers. It just means that they have a lot of work to do to get to that spot where we're going to want them rostered in dynasty leagues with the chance that they might start. That's the kind of the point here is rookie drafts. You want to take your shots later on in the drafts, but a lot of these guys at the end of this show are going to be those guys that you take shots on. But we're going to start with the good ones here. We're going to go over the strengths, the weaknesses, and I like to do a creative spin on the player prop because everybody wants their comps, you know, the player comp. They want to know who he reminds me of. Well, I get a little weird with those. So stay tuned here for each player comp. Let's jump right in and get to it. My wide receiver 1 for the 2022 rookie class is Garrett Wilson out of Ohio State. And this guy is a bona fide 5 pepper prospect. This guy is a stud. He's officially 6 foot tall and 183 pounds. So decent size, kind of lanky, but he doesn't look any bigger or smaller than he measured. So that's a good sign. We weren't surprised by like a couple guys that were a little bit shorter than they were reported to be. But Garrett Wilson, 6 foot 183, nothing out of the ordinary. What did surprise a lot of people was his 40-yard dash. He wasn't thought to be a burner of sorts, but Anybody who runs under 4.4 is freaking fast. And he ran a 4.38 officially. That's fast. That's blazing. That's insanely fast for a wide receiver, for any position for that matter. Garrett Wilson running under 4.4 makes him go up even higher on people's boards, because that was thought to be one of his little bugaboos, was that maybe he doesn't have that blazing speed. Well, we just saw yesterday that he does. He also combined that with a really respectable 36-inch vertical leap. That's really good too. That's above average for sure. His strengths. This guy's a master technician, man. He is an alpha receiver through and through. He sells his breaks with elite smoothness and blinding quickness. We're talking some of the quickest breaks, some of the quickest little shimmies, shakes to get open that in the whole class here. He runs a complete X receiver route tree, and a lot of work with Z and slot too. Ohio State had so many great wide receivers that they shuffled them around. They put them all in different spots all game long, every game. The Ryan Day offense is pretty masterful for wide receivers, and they continue to build talent there. He was sharing the field with Chris Olave, who we'll talk about later, as well as Jackson Smith-Njigba, who's incredible as a freshman, and he's going to be on this show in a couple of years without a doubt. But Garrett Wilson is awesome. His speed was undersold, but now the word's out. So if you thought you're going to get a little discount on Garrett Wilson, maybe slipping below some of these other guys, it's not going to happen now, because the dude is a burner, and he's got exceptional wiggle, beats press coverage with rapid acceleration, and he's got quiet hands. I love guys with quiet hands, where they're not putting their hands up to catch the ball until the very last second. Doesn't give the corner any chance to get in between. So if you oversell it, you're not giving yourself as much of an advantage. Quiet hands, strong hands. Garrett Wilson hardly ever dropped any passes, and you could tell that his technique was so sound. It was so ingrained in Garrett Wilson. It's just he looks so good. I mean, it was hard to find weaknesses in his game. Maybe other than top end speed, which we already erased yesterday. He attacks the back hip and blind spot of his defender ruthlessly. And I love that about him, because that's your Justin Jefferson quality. That's your Jamar Chase quality, where even if he's not the most physical guy against press coverage, if you give him a half a step off to the side and then you open up your hip to him, he's going to stay on that back hip until you are out of footwork. And you see these elite wide receivers in the NFL, that's what they do. They attack your back hip, and they create a blind spot for themselves to run their route inside of. So as soon as you're out of sorts, they got you flipped. They can do it a couple times. Like we've seen Justin Jefferson turn guys inside out down the field, and all of a sudden the guy's got 20 yards of separation. That's what Garrett Wilson does. He's got that footwork, he's got the quickness, and he's got the speed. And of course, he doesn't drop anything. The scary part is he's still getting better. We're still not even talking about a polished product with Garrett Wilson. He's getting better. Weaknesses, he's not the strongest at breaking tight press coverage, like I said. He's not an overly large individual, and he knows he's quick, so he's not going to try to win too many times with hand fighting, with getting physical with the press coverage. So on occasion, if the corner gets the best of him right off the drop, pick and throw him off his route timing. When he does drop passes, it's focus related. He's looking to run after the catch too soon, and that happens to a lot of these guys in this class. But overall, if Garrett Wilson's going to put his hands on the ball, he's going to catch it. He's not the biggest guy, so 50-50 balls are just that. He's not getting a huge advantage on a jump ball or a contested catch. He's pretty much 50-50 in just that. And he could sell his route breaks and the top of those routes, the stems of those routes. He could sell those harder and run a little bit of tighter route. I think that's a little nitpicky, and that's more of like where we see him not quite as polished as he could be, but that's something that he could be learned, that he could be taught that and master that in training camp as a rookie. To be honest, I don't know if that'll even be an issue at the next level, because The way he's progressing now, he's already going to be a star. He's not even at 80% as good as he will become in the league, which is terrifying to imagine. His profile is already impressive. This player comp, you're going to be blown away, but I think Garrett Wilson is the same as if CeeDee Lamb and Jamar Chase had a baby. CeeDee Lamb with his ability to contort his body and erase bad throws. Like, we saw a lot of bad throws from CJ Stroud. He's a young kid. He wasn't always accurate, but man, if that ball was anywhere near Garrett Wilson, he was going to catch it. It didn't matter what position his body was in, he was going to catch it. That reminded me a lot of CeeDee Lamb. And then Jamar Chase attacking that bad hip, attacking the blind spot, and then running after the catch with great speed and elusiveness. This is an exciting guy. 5 peppers for Garrett Wilson. I only have one other 5 pepper wide receiver. It's a great class. It's a deep class, but the very top is not exactly deep as far as guys that I know could be stars right off the bat. Number 2 wide receiver, also 5 peppers, is Treylon Burks out of Arkansas. Yeah, he didn't have the best workout yesterday, but what you see on tape, it never lies. It never lies. 6'2", 225 pounds, absolute specimen. Officially 4.55 on the 40. It's not as fast as some people thought he was going to be, but he still looks really fast on tape against SEC defenses that are fast. Only a 33-inch vertical, which is below average, especially for a guy his size. You're expecting a better workout from him yesterday, but he might be the kind of guy that turns around and just tears it up at Arkansas's pro day. So we don't know. Even though his unicorn tag was revoked yesterday after a lackluster combine workout, the tape never lies. He is an animal and one hell of a football player. His football speed is completely insane. Like, you watch him and you don't think 4.55. You think he's pulling away from everybody on the field. Against Alabama, he absolutely ripped them apart. And it was all phases, all 3 levels, short, intermediate, long. He was completely unstoppable against one of the best defenses in the nation. What does that tell you? He's going to do the same thing at the NFL level because secondaries are thin. They are up against it. The passing games in the NFL are getting more and more potent because the secondary has really no chance with the way the rules are set up. And it's even a bigger advantage for a guy like Treylon Burks with his size and speed combination. He has great hands, big hands. 9 7/8 is big hands no matter how you cut it. He still wears those 4XL gloves. He must have just long fingers. Don't see him drop any passes. He's great at the catch point. He wins at the catch point at a very high rate. We're talking about a big-handed, strong kid who just has great instincts and ball tracking skills, and he's breathtaking in space for his size. His route running is fluid and sudden, and he annihilates man coverage. If you want to man up Treylon Burks, you're going to lose. Plain and simple. His ball tracking is elite. Weaknesses, he's not as quick and flexible as he could be, so a lot of people compared him to DK Metcalf. He ran a similar 3-cone drill. Not surprised. He's not the most flexible or agile, laterally agile player, but he's also not as fast or as freakish as DK Metcalf. I think he's better after the catch than DK Metcalf, which might be a little scary too. His combine performance raises some questions about preparation because if it was just, he had a bad day, why did he have a bad day when everybody else on the wide receiver team looked like they were having the best day ever? We're talking about hot 40 times, hot jumps. Some of these little guys jumped out of the building. What was it about Treylon Burks that made him have a bad day? Was it just too much hype or was it just a lack of preparation? We don't know yet. He's not as great of an X receiver as he is in the slot. You put this guy in the slot and he's going to do damage. At the X receiver, he's going to face tough coverage in the NFL, and it might take him a while to be as dominant at that position. I'm not saying he can't do it, but I'm saying if you put him in the slot his rookie year, a la CeeDee Lamb, he's going to just tear the NFL apart. His tougher routes that are stop-start, deceleration, acceleration, I don't like that in his game yet, but it just needs work. He's still a rookie. He's really young, 21 years old. He's going to develop And like Wilson, he's not a finished product. He's going to get better as a pro. In the right situation, his ability as a football player, tape never lies, it's unmistakable. Player comp, again, very high praise. This guy screams Terrell Owens to me. This guy has the build. He's got the quickness. He's got the speed of T.O. He's a nightmare after the catch, just like Terrell Owens was, where you just don't you don't see very many wide receivers that force business decisions out of the secondary. And Treylon Burks is going to force a lot of business decisions with his athleticism after the catch. T.O. had a lot of drop problems that Treylon Burks didn't have. So I see a little hint of DeAndre Hopkins here, where if he develops as a route runner, the hands and the physicality at the catch point that Treylon Burks has reminds me a lot of DeAndre Hopkins. So picture Terrell Owens with just a dab of DeAndre Hopkins, and that's Treylon Burks. Giddy up. We're going to have an exciting career for Treylon Burks out of Arkansas. My wide receiver 3, this is where it starts getting controversial because there's so many great guys in this next tier for me. My wide receiver 3 is Drake London out of USC. 4 peppers. Where's my 4 peppers? There they are. 4 peppers for Drake London. I don't like USC. I'm a huge Oregon Ducks fan. Drake London is a freaking stud. 6'3" and 7/8 inches. So just a whisker under 6'4". 219. This kid is physical. He is gifted. Didn't run at the combine, dealing with a little calf strain. Not worried about it. He's not the kind of receiver I even care about what his 40 time is. Probably in the 4.5 to 4.6 range. Not a burner. Doesn't have to be. He's likely to jump at an elite level. Played basketball. You're going to hear Drake London played basketball at an elite level in high school and early on in college. You're going to hear that every Sunday. Every time he mosses somebody on Sunday, you're going to hear the same thing you heard about Tony Gonzalez and Antonio Gates and all these other former basketball players in the NFL. It's going to be nauseous. It's going to be nauseating to hear how many times they say Drake London used to play basketball, because he's that kind of player. We talking jumping out of the building at 6'4". He's just special. Vertically, his catch radius is nasty. London uses his size better than any player in this class, but is also incredibly agile, especially after the catch. He doesn't have to be fast. He's quick, nimble, agile, and he's just a big boy, tough to tackle. You get guys that size running any speed in the NFL, and it's tough to bring them down. He doesn't need a ton of separation. And you're going to hear this as a knock for Drake London, is that he doesn't get a ton of room. He doesn't get a ton of space for the quarterback to throw to. His quarterback play at USC was trash. Absolute garbage. So maybe the impressive production he put up at USC would be even better if he had anybody with any talent at all throwing him the football. But he doesn't need separation to be open with his massive catch radius. We're talking biggest catch radius in this class. And his route running from the X position is sharp. It's just great. I love how sudden he is. He uses good angling and body positioning. Very tough to tackle, like I said. His body positioning, it's great. He boxes guys out. Did you hear that Drake London used to play basketball? Yeah, he did. Weaknesses, he's not a fast guy, nor is he overly quick. He's quick and agile. I think he's more nimble and good balance and contact balance than he is agile. So don't expect him to be running a lot of go routes with pull away game. He's going to catch a lot of over the shoulder fades. He's going to run a lot of sideline routes. He's going to be a nightmare in the red zone, but he's not going to be running away from a lot of DBs. He's not going to take the top off the defense. He plays an old school brand of receiver that some NFL coaches won't know how to unlock. Yeah, see Cliff Kingsbury in Arizona, where it took him 2 years how to figure out how to move DeAndre Hopkins off of the left side of the field, not in the slot, out wide left every single play for the first 2 years of Cliff Kingsbury. It took him 2 years to move DeAndre Hopkins off one spot. That's not what you want. You want a guy with Drake London's talent to be able to move all over the field, at slot, at X, at Z, all these positions. He's got the routes to run there. He's a weapon. Move him around. Not every NFL coach is going to move him around, which I think will be at the detriment to Drake London. He's not as brutish of a run blocker as you would expect for a guy his size. He's one of the bigger wide receivers out there, but he's not aggressive run blocking. It's kind of like, meh, it's just part of my job. It's not my career, though. Maybe that'll change, but from what I saw in the running game, Keontae Ingram, if he was running to that side, was tackled by the corner quite a few times. So you never know at the NFL level if that can be coached into a guy, just effort level. He's not going to get a bunch of separation at the NFL level to give his quarterback the impression that he's open. And that's kind of the flip side of that coin, where he doesn't need a lot of room to catch the ball over a defender. However, some quarterbacks aren't willing to take that chance. They're not going to say, hey, there's a rookie over there, and he's got a guy right on him. A lot of quarterbacks aren't going to make that throw trusting the rookie wide receiver to win that ball. He will win that ball more often than not, will Drake London, but he's going to need a certain type of quarterback to get him that ball. London will be a red zone matchup nightmare and a chain mover in the NFL if he's paired with a gunslinger at quarterback who will pepper him with trust throws. He would be completely dominant if that was the case. Player comp, I stuck with USC, and I went back a ways. If you watch the NFL in the early 2000s, late 90s, Deshawn Jackson out of USC was a top pick for the Jets. Went on to the Bucks, won the Super Bowl with the Bucks. Deshawn Jackson is a clone for Drake London. I've heard the comps to Mike Evans. Mike Evans is a unicorn. Mike Evans is going on 7 straight 1,000-yard seasons. I don't think Drake London's that guy. He's a similar size, but that's about where it ends. London is Deshawn Jackson, and I think that's just as good, if not better, in certain aspects to Mike Evans. But Drake London and Deshawn Jackson, they could be related. That's how similar they are on tape. My wide receiver 4, it's really close with London, but a totally different ball player, and he is recovering from an ACL tear. That's Jamison Williams out of Alabama. I gave him the coveted 4 peppers as well. 4 peppers for Jamison Williams. 6'1.5", 179, really tall, lanky receiver. Didn't run, obviously, recovering from his ACL tear late in the season, December. I would put Jamison Williams in that 4.25, 4.35 range in the 40. If he was running, the dude is absolutely blazing fast. Very quick accelerator. 6'1.5", long strides, 179, not a lot of weight to pull. He's absolutely unstoppable on vertical routes. Jamison Williams is a vertical masterpiece. Like every post pattern, go route, fade route, post corner, double moves. Jamison Williams is filthy. Absolutely unstoppable on vertical routes. He exhibits the best deep speed and acceleration in this class. He creates space and erases man coverage with ridiculous gear shifts. You talk about speed, you talk about acceleration, but we don't always talk about stopping and deceleration, shifting gears to throw off the pace and the footwork of the DBs. Nobody does it better than Jamison Williams, is shifting gears in the middle of a route to create a little wiggle of space, because he's not the biggest guy, so he doesn't want guys on him. He wants guys away from him. And shifting gears is one way Jamison Williams gets people off of him quickly. He's got good hands. He stays quiet. He's even harder to cover downfield because you never know when the ball's coming to him. A lot like Chris Carter. You look at Chris Carter, Randy Moss, those downfield guys for the Vikings back when Randall Cunningham was throwing them the ball, is they didn't look up. Like, they might have thrown up their hand right off the bat that they were open, single covered, but they didn't put their hands up to prepare for the catch or even move their eyes that early to signify the ball was coming their way. And so the DB is completely blind, doesn't know to turn around to look for the ball. And Jamison Williams does the same thing, where he's just so sudden at the very end of the catch point, where the DB has no chance unless he's already looking for the ball. All right. Nightmare. He's a nightmare in space with good flexibility to expand his catch radius. That's what surprised me most about Jamison Williams on tape is he is very good at improvising while the ball's already in the air. The ball's in the air. I'm already gonna know how to get under that ball to give me the best chance to catch it. And with his physical gifts, that makes for a really, really talented player. So what is he weak at? Well, he's got zero physicality. We're talking a guy who does not want to be touched. And I guess that's okay for a guy of his caliber, of his speed, of his type of play, where you don't want to be touched. Why would you want to be touched if you're a 6'1.5", 179 guy? I don't want people touching me. I want to avoid that. Be great at flag football. So not physical at the catch point. He doesn't come back for underthrown balls well, which is surprising because when a guy runs that fast, he's going to get underthrown quite a bit. It's hard for a quarterback to just outright unleash a pass as far as he can and let a receiver run under it. Bryce Young did a really good job of doing that last year, where they were dropping bombs all season long. Lots of deep passes to Jamison Williams. But there were some underthrown passes, and Jamison Williams was late. He was delayed at coming back to the ball when it was underthrown. So he needs to work on his tracking. He needs to work on his ability to come back to a pass that's underthrown so he can still make that play. He doesn't have a lot of wiggle or savvy to non-vertical routes. So he runs those vertical routes as well as anybody. But if it's a short or an immediate route where, like, for example, if he's running a fade route in the red zone and you want to kind of do a chop step and then go and then head for the pylon, the back pylon, he's not going to have the wiggle that's going to scare somebody, because if you're running out of room at the back of the end zone, you don't have to worry about getting burned. Like, Jamison Williams isn't really a red zone threat to me because he's not going to be able to run that far to get away from somebody. And of course, that's going to come down to which offense he goes into. He's a relentless field stretcher. He needs to be schemed off of press coverage that stymies him. He doesn't want to be touched. He beats his press coverage with his footwork and his quickness and his speed. He doesn't want to get touched. So he needs to be schemed off of press coverage. And it's weird because he's so fast, but he's not good after the catch unless he's running to open space. So if you have a guy tackling him, Jamison Williams is going straight to the ground, which is not a knock on him. The guy's still plenty good. He's not that physical, dynamic runner after the catch because he's just not that guy. He's just the really, really fast guy that you can't catch. Any decent offense that can scheme him into open space will love to have him as a deadly force. And player comp is straight up Deshawn Jackson. This guy is Deshawn Jackson, and he's just as good at kick returning. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say he's good as punt returning because I didn't see that from him, but kick returning, he's amazing. Jamison Williams, he's going to be fun. David Bell is my next wide receiver, also for Peppers, and this one he was kind of on the borderline there between 3 and 4. I gave him 4 because of what I saw on tape. Purdue, 6'1", 212, ran a 4.65 40. Not that impressive, not terrible. I'm not going to say 4.65 was out of the range of outcomes for David Bell, but it wasn't that good. Throwing only the 33-inch vertical, also below average, but we kind of figured that David Bell wouldn't be that guy that showed up to the combine and raised eyebrows. He's just not that guy. We didn't see it on tape. He wasn't that exciting on tape, other than if you're looking at what he's doing as part of his job, he's a lunch pail guy that gets the job done, and he does it well. David Bell is the best pure pro-ready route runner in the class. His agility and timing to routes is silky smooth. Outstanding hands. We're talking really, really good hands. Seems to always gain separation with technique and intelligence. He's a savvy guy in the slot. Plenty good enough to run a full tree at X and Z as well. He always seems to be under control and balanced, and that's really hard to do as a wide receiver. And you would think, oh, he's not that flashy, not that exciting, but man, is he tough as nails over the middle. I saw him take some shots. I saw him catch passes in traffic where he knew he was going to get his ass kicked by a linebacker or safety. Didn't phase him. He never dropped those passes. He doesn't shy away from contact. I mean, he's not a low guy, 6'1", 212. He's a good size wide receiver. and he did not shy away from contact once. I saw this guy take some shots, man, and a lot of times he would bounce off of it and gain more yards. Weaknesses, he's not an athletic marvel. He lacks great speed, doesn't hit many home runs. He's not great in contested catch situations, and he's not going to win many 50-50 balls. For whatever reason, he's not that kind of guy. He wants to get open. He wants to get separation. He's going to put his hands on the ball. He's going to catch it, and he's going to get some yards after the catch. If that's what you want on your NFL team, he's going to be good he's going to be solid for many, many years. I have a feeling that David Bell is going to be around a long time catching passes and putting up 1,000-yard seasons. Is he going to he's going to light up the fantasy scoreboard? Maybe not, but as a PPR back, I think if he lands in the right offense, he's going to be really, really reliable. So his catch radius seems small for his size on tape. He doesn't get behind defenders very often. He wins laterally. Get this guy into a West Coast offense and watch him slice and dice like Jerry Rice. That's what's going to happen with David Bell. Player comp, Antonio Brown with good character. Moving on, this is the last of the four pepper guys. Another guy on the borderline between 3 and 4 peppers. 4 peppers officially. Deshawn Dodson out of Penn State. 5'11", 178, 4.43 in the 40. He's got good speed. 36-inch vertical, also good. Splendid athlete. Agility and speed to burn. I love his ability to shift gears, a lot like Jamison Williams there. And he exploits space to beat coverage. He's so good at finding those weak spots in zone and torching a man coverage. If again, just like Jamison Williams, if you're singled up on Deshawn Dodson, you're going to lose. Plain and simple. He's too quick. He's quick. He's fast. He gets up to full speed instantly. His route running is crisp, and it seems to make defenders look like they're in quicksand. This guy looks fast on tape. I thought he was going to run under 4.4. He was darn close to it. He plays bigger than his frame. He's 5'11", 178, which is on the smaller side, but it's not minuscule. We're going to talk about a couple guys that are even smaller than Deshawn Dodson. But Deshawn Dodson, plenty big, and he plays bigger. He's elusive after the catch and seems to have you holding your breath on every play in anticipation that he could break it to the house. He's that kind of player. Plays a little bit more physically than Jamison Williams. It's just he's an exciting playmaker. And if you get him in a nice spread offense, he's going to be really fun to watch. Weaknesses, he's not physical against tight coverage. He can get swallowed up by good press coverage. He doesn't look comfortable crossing the middle. He's not like contact averse like Jamison Williams, but he doesn't like running crossing routes. You start to see him kind of walk through his routes if he's called to run over the middle. Outside the hashes, he's dynamite, but inside the hashes, he looks really tentative, which I'm not a huge fan of. He doesn't break tackles. Simply put, does not break tackles. I've seen this guy shake guys, completely make them whiff in space, but if you get a fingertip on Deshawn Dodson, he's going down. He's not great in traffic because he can't shield defenders away. I've seen a lot of guys that's just kind of a side effect of catching with their body, where they allow too much time, where they just don't put themselves in great position to defend the pass in a way as the receiver. That's a big knock on Deshawn Dodson, is that he just doesn't box guys out. And so tighter windows in the NFL, he might have trouble getting those contested catches even more at the NFL level, because he just doesn't have that ability in traffic to sense where the defender is and secure the ball. Player comp, this guy screams John Brown to me. Smoke Brown, fast, deep, not a big guy, but man, you get him in the right spots and he's going to light things up. And John Brown, a lot of people forget how explosive he was in Buffalo before he got hurt a bunch of times. One of my favorite players to watch, John Brown. That's Deshawn Dodson. That's a really, I love that comp. I came up with it yesterday and I was just like, that's so nice. I can't believe you came up with that by yourself. Moving on, 3 peppers prospects. This guy's exciting. I don't know if he's the best prospect, but man, I love to watch this guy. Skye Moore out of Western Michigan. 3 peppers. And it's a solid high three peppers. 5'10", 195, 4'4", 140. Absolutely speedy. 34.5-inch vert, respectable. He's a phenomenal athlete. And a lot of people do these Devi mocks. They do these write-ups, and they try to poke holes in Skye Moore. The problem is they try to sell you that Skye Moore, who ran a 4'4", 140 and dominated everybody he ever played up against, they tried to say he's not a great athlete. The dude's a phenomenal athlete. He plays much bigger than his frame. 5'10", 185 is on the smaller side, but still not that small. He plays like a 6'2" guy. He's physical. He gains separation easily against press coverage with a full arsenal of moves. He's one of the best guys at getting freedom off of press coverage in this whole class. His first release is magic. He's got all kinds of moves that all work. I love how he uses route leverage against coverage. He knows exactly where he's going. He runs precise routes. I love how he just knows where he's going, and he knows what his body can do, and he knows what that defender's body can do. He uses leverage on his routes really, really well. And he's tough at the catch point. Inside and outside, you move in the slot. Outside, he's going to win at all costs. And I love that competitive nature to Skye Moore. Just a really exciting player. Sturdy hands, big hands, good footwork. Lots of good things to say about Skye Moore. He doesn't have the same burst in and out of breaks to match the other receivers in this class, but he always seems to go full blast. Like, we're talking one speed. He's got full blast. It's really good full blast. He doesn't accelerate, decelerate, shift gears like Jamison Williams does. He's a full go guy. I think he could develop that with some time in the right situation, but a lot of being a wide receiver in the NFL is being able to shift gears and get guys off of you. So if you're matched up with a similarly athletic corner, he might have trouble getting separation. He's not as explosive after the catch as I was expecting, and he's fun to watch, but most of what you saw was just bombs from Caleb Ellaby to Skye Moore, or quick manufactured rub routes in the red zone where Skye Moore was left to catch the ball and just kind of dip into the end zone. After the catch, not that great. He's a space guy, just like a lot of these guys, just like Dodson, where he's going to look for open space to win with speed after the catch. He's not going to break a lot of tackles either. He could be a fun, wonderful slot or Z receiver in a spread concept. Arizona, I'm looking at you. I mean, I don't like the comp to Rondale Moore because Rondale Moore's tiny. But Skye Moore, if you put both Moores together, one of them on the outside, one of them in the slot, you could have some really scary route concepts to put into that offense with a healthy DeAndre Hopkins. I love that spot. If you put him in a spread, move him outside to Rondale Moore's inside or Elijah Moore's inside. Another Moore, like Rondale and Elijah, like if you see Skye Moore in Arizona or the Jets, that could be a lot of fun. Player comp, this guy looks just like Austin Eckler, and he's fast. He's not quite as elusive after the catch as Austin Eckler, obviously, but I'm going to give a wide receiver a running back comp because they look so alike. They just look like you see Austin Eckler run routes as a wide receiver all the time for the Chargers. And that's what Skye Moore looks like. Skye Moore looks like Austin Eckler's out there playing wide receiver. And it's not a knock. It's just awesome. It's fun to watch. 5'10", 185 as a wide receiver. It's fine. It's the same size as Elijah Moore, maybe a little lighter. Not quite the same athlete that Elijah Moore is, but I love that makeup. Moving on to another guy who's a supreme athlete is Christian Watson out of North Dakota State. 3 peppers, 6'4", 208, and ran a 4.36. Are you kidding me? Whew. Christian Watson, man, starting at the Senior Bowl where he absolutely destroyed those DBs at the Senior Bowl, and then goes and puts in a really impressive workout at the Combine yesterday. 4.36 is flaming fast. 38.5-inch vertical for a guy that's 6'4". That is nasty. And an 11'4" broad jump. That's also nasty. the super senior. He's a fifth-year senior, so he's a little bit older. He's a physical freak. As a vertical threat, his speed, length, and leaping ability will be difficult to defend at any level. The NFL is going to have a lot of trouble covering him down the field. He has a great makeup as a human being and a solid teammate. Everybody's saying that Christian Watson is wonderful. He knocked his interviews out of the park. People really love this kid. He doesn't lose speed at the top of his routes, which is really going to help him get separation on deep post patterns, post corners, and go routes. He doesn't lose speed when he's making that break. He puts an immense amount of stress on coverage. If you blow your coverage, you miss an assignment as a free safety or a corner, it's going to be a touchdown. This guy is going to score touchdowns at the next level, and they're going to be really long, spectacular, deep ball touchdowns. And that's all there is to it. He's really made his stock rise with the workout at the combine yesterday, as well as the Senior Bowl. His stock is as straight up as it gets. He wins down the field frequently, and he has a ridiculous catch radius. With that leaping ability and his length, he's going to be tough to deal with. Weaknesses, he's still not that great of a route runner. He's going to get better as he goes. He uses a lot of extra steps to decelerate, so he's really got to work on his footwork at the next level to get open on those comeback routes, which are going to be a nice complement to his 9 routes that he runs so well. His jump timing isn't that great, so as much as he's great at leaping out of the building to catch the ball at the high point, he doesn't always time it right, so you don't really get the advantage there with his athleticism if he doesn't time the jump right. He doesn't have amazing hand-eye coordination either. He's good at tracking the ball all the way down to his hands, but then you start to see the disconnect there where his eyes kind of lie to him as the ball comes down. I think he can work on that. He's really lanky, and he's not physical for contested catches. So he can jump over you, and he can run past you. But if you're still there, and you still have a really good chance of breaking the pass up, because he's not a really physical guy. He's really skinny and lanky, and he really didn't play any good competition at FCS, North Dakota State. The competition at the DB position was embarrassingly bad. And the Senior Bowl, the corners weren't that good either. It was a pretty embarrassing crop of talent at the Senior Bowl, except for the pass rushers. So the jury's still out on whether Christian Watson can win consistently at the next level, but there's going to be some spurts where he's just going to light it up. He could be a diamond in the rough for a team looking to get more verticality in their offense, like the Raiders. Not a technician, but he has all the desired physical traits and player comp. This is a tricky one because it's an exciting comp for a lot of people, but for me, it's a comp of a player I really don't like. DJ Chark. He's tall, skinny, blazing fast, jumps high, makes a lot of big plays on contested catches down the field. Not consistent, not physical, doesn't have that like alpha dog, give me that damn ball mentality. DJ Chark was, it was by Urban Meyer, but he was chided by Urban Meyer for playing like a little man despite being 6'4". Christian Watson, I hope you're better than DJ Chark. You have the the potential to be better than DJ Chark, but at this very moment, you look just like DJ Chark. Not a terrible thing, but you could be better. Next up, another 3-pepper prospect, George Pickens out of Georgia. 6'3", 195, 4'4", 640. A lot like Christian Watson. A lot like him. Very good athlete. Only the 33-inch vert, so not quite the same like explosive qualities as Christian Watson, but damn good athlete nonetheless. Very nice size-speed combo. More polished in a lot of ways than Watson with his route breaks and his ability to shed press coverage. He's one of the most exciting downfield perimeter receivers in this class. His ball skills and catch radius are up there with Drake London at the very top of this class. He never seems to drop passes, not even one. This guy he makes tough catches look easy. He makes easy catches look easy. George Pickens' hands are solid. He doesn't win against physical coverage. He's another lanky guy like Christian Watson, where if you get physical with him, you can knock off his timing. And he doesn't really finish the job if he wins initially. So you get a guy who gets open and then he finishes his route to get even more open. George Pickens will get open initially and then just finish the route like he was going to anyway. And sometimes that allows the defender to catch up and recover. We saw that a lot with him when he was first back from his injury. He came off an ACL in the spring, which was a really impressive thing for him to come back so soon, but he didn't finish his routes as well as I wanted to see him do it. He disappears for long stretches. He's a opportunist. He wants to have single coverage. He wants to have non-bracketed coverage. And when he doesn't have those things, he doesn't always run his routes with a full gas tank, if you know what I mean. He's kind of a one-trick pony as an X receiver running vertical routes. I didn't see a lot of quickness or good polished route running on shorter intermediate routes. He likes to run those vertical routes. He runs them well. He doesn't get his hands dirty blocking or running digs and crossers in traffic. Like we said, came off the ACL last spring, so there is some concern for his longevity at the position, but I didn't think he looked bad at all coming down the stretch, especially in the playoff against Michigan and Alabama. He looked just fine, looked better than fine. So I'm not going to hold the ACL against him. Player comp, this is Marquez Valdes-Scantling if he had great hands. We see poor MVS running wind sprints all day long with Aaron Rodgers, and you get a blown coverage or you get a nice one-on-one opportunity. Aaron Rodgers is going to unleash that beast. And the knock on MVS is, he's going to get those streaks to be open. The question is, can he catch the ball? A lot like Nelson Aguilar or those guys that have the burning speed and the downfield ability. MVS is a great comp here, except George Pickens' hands are way better than MVS's. Next up, three pepper prospect. We're starting to get towards the bottom of the three pepper guys. John Metchi out of Alabama, 5'11", 187. He's also coming off an ACL late in the season. I believe it was in the national championship game in the first half against Georgia, tore his ACL. So he's on the recovery, not running at the combine, obviously. He's a 4.3, 4.4 guy, blazing speed. Breathtaking speed and agility in the open field, runs a diverse Y route tree. He's a great slot weapon. Sometimes out of the Z, he's pretty decent too. He defeats all types of coverage from the slot to create space, uses his jets, light it up after the catch. You get John Metchi in space, and he's going to make him pay. He thrived in the slot against SEC competition and carved out a good target share with elite teammates. We're talking the biggest hotbed of elite teammates at Alabama that you could ever put together. John Metchi still carved out a role for 3 straight years. So you can't really knock him too bad on some of his flaws, which, number one, I hate running backs and wide receivers that catch with their body. It drives me up a wall. There's no reason you're at this level and you don't know how to put your hands out in front of you to catch the tip of the ball. You don't let it come to your body. John Metchi catches with his body. And it drives me up a wall because, wouldn't you know, he had a drops problem at Tuscaloosa. Well, what are you going to do? He catches with the body, he drops passes, and he doesn't win at the catch point because he's allowing the defender to get more time to intervene in between his catch point. He doesn't set himself up well for running after the catch this way, too. He's not able to get going the right direction because he's waiting for the ball to hit his body. And with his ability to run after the catch being elite, it's really disappointing to watch. His size and his skill set as a pass catcher, not as an athlete, he's a great athlete, will limit him in the NFL despite his athletic profile. He's going to have limitations at the next level because he is of a certain ability as a wide receiver. As an athlete, if you get the right system with him, he's going to be really fun to watch. Player comp for John Metchi is Nicole Hardman with glimpses of Henry Ruggs. And we're talking about, Henry Ruggs, for all of the things that have happened to his career and life, very exciting player at Alabama and a very exciting player in certain spots with the Raiders. We saw a lot of times on tape where he completely changed the outlook of the defense We saw his walk-off touchdown against the Jets a couple years ago. He's just electric. And John Metchi is the same kind of player. Nicole Hardman, again, drafted to replace Tyreek Hill in a time of uncertainty for the Saints. Never really developed into a great wide receiver at this point, but still has flashes of brilliance where you're like, whoa, the guy's fast, he's athletic, and he makes big plays. And in the NFL, that's what it matters. Speaking of that, Wan'Dale Robinson out of Kentucky, 3 peppers. I mean, these 3 pepper guys are still pretty damn good, and I would not even care if I'm spending a late second to a third round rookie pick on a guy like Wan'Dale Robinson out of Kentucky, 5'8", 178. He's a little guy, but he ran a 4.44, 34.5-inch vert. He's a good football player. That's what you can say about Wan'Dale Robinson is, yes, all the athletic things you can say about him are amazing. He's a little tiny guy, 5'8", 178, but man, is he a good football player. And that's what stands out on tape is, again, SEC competition is really tough. And he looked like he was game. Every game, Wan'Dale Robinson impressed me. He has good football instincts that complement his wonderful athleticism. He has great hands, and he plays as if he isn't one of the smallest guys on the field. He's so versatile as a slot receiver and gadget player with great speed and elusiveness with the ball in his hands. He's also surprisingly slippery and tough to bring down for his size. He's not expected to, nor did he demonstrate a full route tree at X or Z. He was limited to the slot gadget role, and he will be in the NFL, as it would be an undertaking to get him up to speed at those other positions. His size is prohibitive, even if it seems to carry it well. His play speed is more jitterbug than cheetah. So he's quick, short area burst is insane, and he's going to get space with that quickness, but he's not going to run away from guys. He's not that long speed guy. 4.44 is great, but I like to see him use that speed on the field to get space rather than just eliminate the need to be caught, because he was caught from behind at certain times, which it's to be expected. The SEC has corners that run 4.3 and 4.4 just the same. So more jitterbug than cheetah. Player comp, he's Rondale Moore with Steve Smith tenacity, and I love that. Rondale Moore, freak athlete, little guy, just the same. Very, very comparable there. But Steve Smith tenacity, where you saw Wan'Dale Robinson play with a toughness and a savvy, playing football the right way. Like you can say, hey, that guy's a football player. That's Wan'Dale Robinson. If he's in the right spot, he's going to be a fun player to watch. Our last 3 pepper guy, controversial one. He just came off neck surgery a couple years ago. Great before that, pretty decent after that. Justin Ross out of Clemson, 3 peppers, 6'4", yeah, 205. Not a burner. He didn't run at the combine. He was also a little dinged up. Probably gonna run Clemson's pro day, but 4'5", 4'6" guy, kind of like Drake London. Not expected to be fast, but he can jump. We're talking a guy 6'4", played basketball, all blah blah blah. Justin Ross is that same kind of vertical, straight up and down kind of receiver that's really talented, and he's got a great size profile the NFL is going to love. Trevor Lawrence loved throwing the ball to him. He's very effective from the slot and the Z, where he can set up his routes with extra cushion from press. At X, he gets swallowed up. He's not the strongest guy, so press coverage, he had trouble getting space off of that and using agility to get open. He's not that kind of guy. If you're putting him on the line of scrimmage as an X, he's going to struggle, but as a Z or a slot, he's going to do really well. He's good at the catch point. He's very tough after the catch. Big kid, tough to bring down. He uses good leverage and quickness and footwork to get into receiving position. So he gets space, and then he's quick to turn around and blocks out that defender. And I would say he's even better at that than Drake London is, which is a really good trait to have in the NFL, because we've seen guys with limited talent turn into great players because they do things like that. With Justin Ross being able to get into the catching position to shield off the defender from intervening with the catch point. That's a hugely important trait in these bigger wide receivers that don't always get the same kind of separation as a speed guy. he hasn't been overly healthy. We mentioned the neck fusion surgery a couple years ago to get rid of a congenital disorder. He had a couple other dings. He's actually hurt right now. He doesn't win with speed, and he's not the most physical against press despite his size. And he had a lot of drops in college, mostly focus related. He's looking upfield. I saw a lot of the drops with Justin Ross where I'm looking upfield to try to run after the catch before I have the ball secured. You can coach that out. It's not a huge issue. It just kind of stands out where we're like, oh, how many drops did the guy have? Well, he had so many, more than the average receiver in this class. But I think a lot of it was just mostly focus related, looking upfield prematurely. Any offense that likes to run 3 and 4 wide sets would love Ross as a big slot weapon, especially in the red zone. His size and positioning, again, basketball players have a huge favoritism in the NFL, especially in the red zone, using their size and their length to get separation vertically. That's really, that straight up and down is just as important as side to side as it is running away from guys with speed. It's just as important. Justin Ross does a fine job at that. Player comp, skinny Juju Smith-Schuster with springs in his legs. He's not as built as Juju, but he's a lot more vertically gifted, where he can jump out of the building and use his 6'4" frame to completely win over the top of a defender. Juju does the same kind of box out techniques from the big slot position that's really effective, especially against zone coverage. Man coverage, I think Ross is even better than Juju already. Juju really struggles against man coverage because he doesn't win with any kind of moves at all. And I think Ross has enough quickness to get open against man and then box the guy out and also do the same kind of success in zone coverage. So skinny Juju with springs in his legs. That's Justin Ross. I'm going to just quickly go over the 2 Pepper prospects, the late round rookie picks. So your fourth round, you're going to see these guys come off the board. Khalil Shakir out of Boise State. He's a slot receiver, kind of like Amon-Ra St. Brown, but he ran 4.4, which was surprisingly good. He's got some potential. Calvin Austin, even smaller than Wan'Dale Robinson, but his workout was very impressive. 4.3 guy with great leaping ability. Just a good football player, good athlete, but really, really small. Going to have the same kind of positional limitations because of his size. Velus Jones, Tennessee, another 4.3 guy. Tyquan Thornton from Baylor. We thought he might have broken the NFL record for the combine for the 40 with the 4.21 unofficially. Turned out it was a 4.28 officially. Still crazy fast. Under 4.3 is crazy fast. Top 1% for speed. Sprinting guy from Baylor. Baylor builds their whole program for football out of track stars and teaches them and develops them as football players. Tyquan Thornton has a lot of potential if he learns how to do other things other than run vertical routes. Same thing with Alec Pierce out of Cincinnati. I actually think he might be my favorite 2-star prospect. Alec Pierce out of Cincinnati made Desmond Ridder look really good last year, or the last 2 years. I'm not that impressed with Ridder, but Alec Pierce really looks like a nice athlete. I think if he goes to the right place, Alec Pierce could be one of the best guys in the late rounds as a wide receiver. Again, if I didn't mention one of the guys that you were looking at, just means they're not on my radar yet for rookie drafts for Dynasty. Some of these guys you might be able to get on waivers after the rookie drafts, so keep your eyes peeled. That's it, guys. Fill your queues up. These wide receiver class is really talented and deep, as you know, because I went up almost to an hour on it. My voice is going out. Gosh. At least now, from here on out, not as deep of positions. Tight ends in 2 weeks. We'll have 4 or 5 guys to talk about, maybe more. But running backs and wide receivers take a lot out of you. There's so many things to look at, so many guys that can do it. Thank you for joining me tonight on Hot Route with me, the King of Spice. Check us out again, Going for 2 live. Hit me up on Twitter at @boat_McBigTime, and make sure you check out my food website with my seasoning blends and Hotbox Gourmet hot sauce. That's bigtimeflavor.co. Thank you very much. Have a great Friday night. Enjoy the rest of the combine. Check me out. My combine coverage will be coming in hot and heavy once it's over on Fantasy Pros. Have a great night, guys.